Okay, we're going to talk a little bit more about valence electrons and how they affect how atoms interact with each other. So I've drawn sodium here, and since it's over here in group number 1, it's got 1 valence electron. Chlorine is over here in group 17, so it's got 7 valence electrons. So what happens here is sodium is very unstable because it only has 1 electron out here, and this shell, which really wants to have 8. And so what atoms do, and this goes for anything in group number 1 here, what they do is they want to get rid of this electron here, and then they have 8 in their outer shell. Chlorine, on the other hand, only has 7, wants 8. So this sodium that just gave up its electron would fit very nicely, and let's do it in another color here so you can see it. It would fit very nicely right here in the shell with chlorine. So that's why sodium is very reactive, because there's only that 1 electron to get rid of. So anything in group 1 that only has that 1 electron that was out here in the outer shell is very, very reactive because it's easy to get rid of 1 electron. Anything that's in group 17 here with chlorine is also very reactive because all they have to do is gain 1 electron. So the reason this one is reactive is because its shell is almost full. The reason sodium's very reactive is because its shell is almost empty. And so both of these groups are very, very reactive. As we get into the shell of oxygen that would have 6 electrons like this, it's going to have to gain 2 electrons to fill this up. So it's not quite as reactive, but something from group 2 over here, like calcium, that would have 2 electrons, if we add one out here, 2 electrons in its outer shell, calcium would react very nicely with oxygen because these 2 electrons could jump right here into the outer shell of oxygen, and then what would happen is this outer shell would go away, and then there would be 8 electrons in this shell. Okay, and those aren't all written there, but there would be 8 there. So that's how the reactivity is affected by valence electrons. When it's almost full or almost empty, those groups are very, very reactive. So group 18 here that has 8 valence shells and it's full like this group is the noble gases. They're very, very unreactive, and they don't react with hardly anything at all because they're stable. They have that full valence shell. Once chlorine reacts with sodium and gets that electron, okay, doesn't have it here, but once it gains that electron, it now becomes very stable itself, and it becomes a chlorine ion because it gained a negative charge. The sodium that we drew up here lost an electron, so it lost a negative charge, and so now it's a sodium ion, and it's positive. So that's how reactivity works.